Zoom link as well, maybe in there. I don't know why, but she's joining in a second. I'm going to share with you this real quick. Where is it? This was like a few minutes ago, right up by my house. That's my puppy, and look how much snow there is. It's so cold out there right now. I'm from Texas. I do not like the cold weather.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're going to be staying inside all day. Excellent. We got some.
I'm here in Chicago, and it's very cold here as well. I think it's like 5 degrees.
I shouldn't complain. If you're in Chicago, you have me beat. But in Texas, I think on Monday in San Antonio and Austin, it's going to get down to like 5 degrees, which is what, minus 20 Celsius. It's going to get kind of cold. And I'm worried about those people because they're not used to it. There's going to be a lot of issues.
Okay.
So while we're getting there, Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie.
Hello, Stephanie. Good morning. Buenos días.
You're on mute right now.
Your microphone is okay.
Hello. Okay, this is I think my.
That's okay. Take your time. Did everybody get to see Stephanie's video I sent out like a week and a half ago? If not, I'm going to share it in the chat, and then you guys can take a look at it at your own leisure. You all set up okay, Stephanie?
Yeah, I got to get the layout change. It's like all of y'all are in a weird line in front of me. I can't see it.
No worries. I'm just going to get the class started. Take your time. So good morning, everybody. Buenos días. I think it's clase cinco, the 5th class. You guys are getting into a lot of more comprehensive trailhead. How are you guys doing in regards to some of the assignments that Juan gave last week? Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down. Because it is getting a little bit more difficult. All right, I like a thumbs up. Thumbs up. Good, good. And remember, I keep saying this, I sound like a broken record. You have your coaches, you have your mentors. If you fall behind, make sure you get a hold of them. We've got really a great session today. I want to introduce Stephanie here in just a second, but we also have a couple of new folks that are coaches that haven't been on the call. We all know Barbara. She's been here a few times in Uruguay. But Vanessa, if you don't mind, maybe just a minute or two introduction and who you're mentoring. And you're in Chicago, if I recall.
Okay, yeah. So, okay, I'll do it in English. Is that okay?
That's fine. Yeah, we're trying to balance it, but English is what we're trying to focus on because a lot
English
of the roles
is fine. If I do it in Spanish, it'll be like Spanglish, but that's okay. So I'm in Chicago. I am a Salesforce administrator at One Goal, and that is a nonprofit that operates in 6 regions across the United States. And what we do is that we help like high school students prepare for college and help them get into college. And these are students that are predominantly low income or Black and Hispanic. So we're trying to close the degree divide, and that's what we do. And I am one of 4 Salesforce administrators at this organization, and I am a mentor to Josue. He and I joined late into the program, so we are meeting and working it together. And I thought I would come in here and say hello to everyone, show my face, and see how the class is going, so that I can be of best help to him.
Excellent.
So, hello.
Hello. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And then before we get to Stephanie, we have our instructor on the call, Isabel Bravo. Thank you so much, first of all, for being a volunteer. And maybe if you can just share a little bit quickly about your background.
Hi, everyone. I'm Isabel. I'm in Mexico, in Monterrey. I've been in Salesforce for about almost 2 years. And I'm in Oni Solutions, and I'm an administrator and a consultant. So really happy to share with you guys today. Hope you like it.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you again. And I think Tony's going to come on for office hours a little later. So just one quick announcement. We did officially change our name from Poesis to Elevar Latam. So if you start seeing some additional slides or information, you guys chose the final name. So we'll start marketing and branding it that. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you one of the more inspirational individuals in the Salesforce community worldwide. She is based in Austin, Texas. Hope your heater works too, Stephanie. It's going to get cold there. And she is, I'll let her introduce all the things that she's done, but she's really an inspiration to a lot of people because of her grit and her mentorship and her ability to bring people together in a community that pretty much wasn't there for a lot of people. And Stephanie, I'll hand it off to you and take your time. Just a quick note, we have folks from about 16 and a half, maybe 17 years old to 27, average age is about 21, 22. And they're on class 5, probably about 35 badges into the admin side of things. So we'll let, and most of the folks are in Reynosa, Mexico, so right south of the Texas border. So it's all yours.
Wonderful. So I'm getting used to this like Google Hangout. Like y'all are all in a line up and down in front of my screen. Is that how y'all see it too? Or
Yeah,
okay.
I see like a 4x4, a grid.
I don't see that. I see like all of y'all are like, on a straight line in front of my screen, and then y'all.
There should be able to. There's another way to look at it. I couldn't tell you how, but I fixed it one day.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's kind of like, you know, I'm a very visual person, so it's like.
You guys know how to fix the grid on the?
I do.
Yeah.
When in the 3 dots, when you click on mute on the right,
Yeah.
you change layout.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
There.
that's I think the title.
And then go to title. Yeah, that's it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Go to tile.
Tiled,
Tile.
where it says change layout. You should be able to see everybody.
I'm on tile, but y'all are still in a line in front of me. It's so weird.
You have a line below where you can like
Make it-
customize how many tiles you want.
On the very bottom of that display,
Yeah, I see tiles. Y'all-
Just drag it over.
and drag it all the way to the right.
Yeah, I have it all the way to the 49 or something like that. So I can see everybody in one screen.
By the way, I didn't have it to 49. Now I can see more people.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's better than Zoom.
Yeah. Did you
No, I
figure it
don't
out?
know. I'm still liking Zoom, but this is so weird because I just see on a still. It's weird. It's like in a line.
So
Sorry.
under change layout, you have tiled picked,
Yep, I did.
and then
tile.
you have all the way to the right. I don't know.
My
Yeah.
Google, this is weird. On a Mac, maybe. I don't know, but
I'm on a Mac as well. Anyways, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say.
no worries. I just usually like to see the faces I'm talking to. That's all. I see y'all a little bit. But as Hector said, my name is Stephanie Herrera, and I started full-time at the Salesforce ecosystem in 2012. I did it on a smaller scale in 2007 to 2008, but I've been in tech for 22 years now. I got my start in tech way back in 98 at Dell. But before that, my first job out of high school was working in the cotton fields with my grandparents, my grandfather in particular. I worked the summer with him from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., spraying and picking the weeds around the cotton. We got a 30-minute lunch break, and we ate our bologna sandwiches and listened to Paul Harvey. And as I was sitting there, I'd observed my grandfather, who worked very hard, along with my 2 male cousins and I out there. I realized that working in the cotton fields was his only way to support his family. And he was happy to do it. They lived in a little small farmhouse on the land of the person who owned the cotton fields. But watching him, I felt a sense of responsibility to do more with my life for him, because he didn't have the same options that, obviously I had better options than he did. I couldn't go to college. I tried for a semester, but I'd had my daughter at the age of 17. I was a single mom. I didn't have a car. I was already bumming rides to work. So it made it really hard to go to school as well. So after a semester of that and not being able to make it to class, because I lived out in the country, out in rural Wolford, Texas, and there wasn't a subway or a train or a bus to jump on to take me to class. I had to have my own transportation. So it just didn't work out. So I went to work. And I worked retail a lot, and I did sales, and I was really good at sales. And Ended up getting married, and we moved to Round Rock, Texas. And my husband at the time got a job at Dell and really pushed me to interview there. He said, you're really good with people. And at the time, I didn't even know how to use computers. I'm dating myself. Back in '98, I told him that he's crazy. There's no way I'm going to get a job working on computers. I don't even know how to use them. But, just to get him to leave me alone, I went and interviewed. Somehow I got the job. And just like what you're going through right now, through a training class, Dell put us through an intensive 3-week training program. It was in person, 5 days a week, obviously. And every single day they tested us on how to navigate the computer system, how to do sales techniques, and on the product. And my first couple of days when I'd come in, I was scared to death because there were 2 buttons on the computer and I didn't know which one to turn on to power it up. And so, the guy sitting next to me could tell, and he would show me, he's like, this is the one that you use to turn it on. That's how foreign computers were to me at the time. But due to the training program, I got in there and I was like, oh, I really like this. Initially I didn't want to interview there, but now that I was there, I was like, I'm really enjoying it. So every day they tested us, and they tested us on the product knowledge, how to navigate the computer, and on sales techniques. And each time I always finished in the top 3. And again, I was the only one of the only ones there that didn't have a college degree. Everybody else had college degrees. One guy quit his job at NASA to come work there. And back in '98, Dell was taking off. Like the stock was splitting a lot, and people were becoming what they call Dellionaires. So a lot of people wanted to work at Dell. So it was very competitive. So I still don't know to this day how I ended up getting hired. It still baffles me, but I'm so glad I did. At the end of the 3 weeks, we had a final that we had to study for, and everybody in class stayed after and studied. And I was so stressed out at this point that I had what is now known imposter syndrome. I thought for sure I'm going to take this final tomorrow, and they're going to find out that I don't belong here, that they made a mistake in hiring me. So instead of staying after class and studying with all of them, I went home and curled up in a ball filled with anxiety. Like, I'm about to be found out. I'm not going to do good on this exam. And, I had a really rough childhood, so it takes a lot to stress me out. So this had stressed me out because this is something I really wanted, and I was afraid I was going to lose it. So the next day we come in, we take the exam, and in the environment that we're in, it's a very competitive sales environment. So every time we took an exam, they shared the grades with the whole class. So everybody knew what everybody made. Come to find out, I made a 96, which was the second highest grade in the class. And I was overjoyed. I was like, yes, I get to keep my job. They're not going to kick me out of here. But immediately the class turned on me. They all got very upset with me. And they pointed out that they all stayed after class and studied together, and that I did not stay and study with them, that I didn't share my knowledge. Obviously I had knowledge to share, but I didn't share it with them. And you know what? They were absolutely right. And from that point on, I always made it a point, whatever I learned, I'm going to turn around and share it with my team. And I did that at Dell. I did that for 9 years, and it allowed me to be very successful there. And after working there, after 9 years, when you work there, they're like, you need to go work at the startups to see what that's like. So I went and worked at a few small startups, and that's when I discovered Salesforce, the Salesforce platform, and fell in love with it. It was something that I was really good at. The company that I was working on, doing it on a small scale, went under. So, I was like, I got to go work somewhere else. So I went and worked at Apple for a little bit, worked there while Steve Jobs was there. But after a year and a half, I really missed working on the Salesforce platform. So at the end of 2011, I updated my resume, applied for 3 different jobs. I got offered all 3 jobs, and I took the one that paid the most, which was almost a 50% pay increase over what I was making at Apple. And that was at the end of 2011. And that was the last time I went looking for a job. Since then, all of the jobs have come to me. And again, my first job out of high school was working in the cotton fields. When I went to work at Dell, I didn't even know how to use a computer. Didn't even know how to turn it on. Didn't know what email was. But yeah, I became an email guru. I became a sales guru. I became a computer guru. So I'm sharing this story with you to let you know that it doesn't matter where you came from, what your background is, who your family was, who your parents were, what kind of car you drive. I didn't even have a car. What you wear, none of that matters. What matters is what's up here and what's in here, what's in your heart. And I'm wearing my trail heart. I don't know if you guys can see it, my Puerto Rico trail heart, Astro, for a reason, because I feel like, that's what defines you. Your past doesn't matter. It's what is here. Ralph Waldo Emerson, one of my favorite quotes of his is like, it's not what's behind you, It's not what's in front of you, it's what's within you that matters. And with this Salesforce ecosystem, that's very true. And so I want to share, the thing about Hector, and y'all are so lucky that y'all have Hector. He was one of the first people back in 2015 that asked me to speak to a group like this for his Maravus vets. And at the time, I thought he was crazy. I was like, these veterans, they put their lives on the line. They don't want to talk to me. They don't want to hear from me. But it was such a positive experience that I continued to do that. And so they haven't been able to shut me up ever since. But, being able to speak to classes, especially, I really wanted to see y'all's faces in particular, because for me, working in tech, I've been in tech for 22 years, and we all know that it's hard as Latinos to have representation in tech. And it was even harder way back when Hector and I started in tech. There were even fewer of us. So for me to see y'all's faces, to see this, these different shades of brown, it's really like I got to fight not to get emotional, because I love seeing faces like mine coming into tech, because we don't see that. And so for y'all are the first cohort of this kind that Hector is doing. Y'all are the trailblazers. And I can't wait to see your faces in the marketing for Salesforce. I can't wait to see your faces in the user groups, in the Salesforce Saturdays, to see you thriving and continuing on this journey. But what you have to do first and foremost is you have to support each other. The most important thing that you're going to need to be successful is leaning on each other, your peer mentors. Like this group, you all should stay connected forever. Like you should have each other's emails. You should be on social. You should be sharing your knowledge with each other. And as long as you're doing that, you will rise quickly in this ecosystem. I promise you, when you share your knowledge, it comes back to you. When you help each other, y'all will rise quickly, and the sky's the limit, especially with this ecosystem. I feel like, at the time I came in, if you knew how to spell Salesforce, you could have got a job. And I'll be honest, coming in now, it's going to be a little harder. You need each other to get through this, to learn it, because it is a lot, and we're always learning. Just know that. In this ecosystem, you're always going to be learning, which to me is what I love about it. You've got to have that growth mindset that, I'm not an expert and Hector's not an expert. That's what makes this so great. The people who've been in here who've been doing this for a long time, we still have to learn. So in a sense, through technology, it evens the playing field. It gives you the opportunity. It's totally up to you what you want to do with it. And I don't know, I wanted to share a slide to show what I've done. Like, the very first slide I ever did was for Maravus and kind of show the evolution of it, but I'm not quite sure how to share from here, how to share my screen.
Should be a present now at the bottom right of the screen. Just hit present now.
Okay, and then y'all will be able to see my screen?
Well, yeah, we have to do one more step because I messed this up too. Then hit the either the whole desktop or whatever screen you want to share, and then hit share again.
Okay.
And then it'll work.
All right. Let's see here. Entire screen.
And then there's one more. Yeah, just you have to make sure it's highlighted and then hit share. There's another small little share button or something.
Let's see here. Let's see. Did that work? Hold on. I can't see this.
We need to do a Google Hangout, a Google Class 101 before all of our guests come.
Yes. Let me do this again. See, I'm a Zoom girl, and but what I love is that all of y'all jumped in and were trying to help me with Google Hangout. Like y'all were already teaching me. Like, see how lovely that is? Let's see. So I'm gonna do my entire screen, and then I'm gonna go to the presentation.
Close your eyes until it's ready.
You're not just looking at each other when I do this, okay? Okay, so share. Oh, I gotta go to system preferences. Okay, open system preferences.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness. Google Hangouts. Let's see here. System preferences. Open system preferences. It might be easier to just send it to you. Google Chrome. There we go. Google will be able to record it. It's quick. Okay. I think that does it. Hopefully that does it. Let's see. Present now. Entire screen. Share. Okay. Can y'all see my screen?
Something's coming up. There it is.
Can you see that?
We can see it. We're good.
So you see that with my, okay, so here back in 2014, so I remember I had said I had started full-time in the ecosystem in 2012. In 2014, I started the first ever Girly Geeks chapter here in Austin. And then 2015, I founded Salesforce Saturday. And then I was a speaker at Dreamforce 2014, 2016, and then up until 2019. I started volunteering with Hector in 2015 and then became a board member in 2017. In 2016, I was an Austin Under 40 finalist mentor for Mentor of the Year. And then you can see all the rest here, what has happened in my career as a result of basically just sharing my knowledge and opportunities with other people. I was a keynote speaker with Mark Benioff. He's the founder of Salesforce. This is us on stage. And then I also spoke with Parker Harris, the other co-founder. A lot of people don't know about Parker Harris, but there is a co-founder. His name is Parker Harris. Spoke with him in New York City. And then in 2019, Mark Benioff invited me to Trailblazer Days. Hector was there as well, and I was on stage with him and Ivanka Trump. And then I also got invited as a guest to the White House for my work on workforce development. In 2019, I also got the National Latino Leadership Award. And then I was a keynote speaker in Paris and in England. And then there was a virtual dreaming event in 2020, and I was a keynote speaker. And then I also just did Japan Salesforce Saturday speaker. And then this is one of my favorite quotes. It's not where you're from, it's where you're going. It's not what you drive, it's what drives you. It's not what's on you, it's what's in you. It's not what you think, it's what you know. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Oh, and also I'm a global VP for Computer Futures. So
Your day job.
yeah, that's my day job, global VP for Computer Futures. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing now. And so are we back to normal? Is it back? All right. So that is me in a nutshell. I want to open it up for questions, but I do just want to remind y'all that you've got this great opportunity. Continue to lean on each other. The most important thing to do is to show up, be engaged, learn, observe, and then share your knowledge. And through that, you will continue to learn and grow in this ecosystem and be able to it's changed my life. Before Salesforce, I was living paycheck to paycheck, couldn't make ends meet. After coming into this ecosystem, I bought my own house. I'm in a position to where I could buy another house if I wanted to. I don't have to worry. I used to, go to the grocery store and was worried about if I'm going to have enough money in the account to, get groceries and feed my kids. I still have that kind of PTSD, but it's, imagined. But, because of this ecosystem, I don't have those worries anymore. My worries now is finding enough hours in the day to do everything I need to do. But that is me, and I just want to give you the opportunity to ask any questions.
Preguntos. Joanna, you always have a question, so maybe you. Anybody?
Not today.
Not today. Okay.
I do have a question.
There you go.
So, what's the thing that has made you the scariest, like the scariest thing in your career?
It has made me curious.
Scary, like the
scariest.
Oh,
the scariest. Yeah.
Oh, the scariest in my career. It's probably the computers, not knowing them, and afraid I was going to mess up because I was making decent money, which y'all at the time was $10 an hour. But I worked a lot, and we could work as much as we wanted. But probably I would think.
And how do you face that fear? Like, how do you overcome the fear and keep pushing and moving forward?
I feel like I didn't have a choice. I was just tired of working all the time and not making any money. At one point I was working 2 jobs, working 7 days a week for a year and a half. And I was just over it. I was just so exhausted and so tired. And I had, kids, and I was frustrated. I saw so many other people who I felt like didn't work as hard as I did, and they were doing better than me, and I couldn't figure it out. And so I just kept pushing and kept pushing. And, I'm still the same person I was when I worked at Dell and Apple and those other places. But with the Salesforce ecosystem, I just kind of feel like I was finally getting paid for the work I was doing. I was finally valued. But I was just, it was driven by the need for money, the need to support my family. I really just didn't have a choice. I didn't want my kids to have the same life that I grew up with. We didn't have a lot. And I knew I was smart, just because of the classes, all my friends would always cheat off of me and like ask for help with homework, and I was a straight A student. So I knew I was capable, but it was just finding the people who would share those opportunities. You know, the beautiful thing about, you know, Maravis and Pep Up Tech and Salesforce Saturday and now this cohort is, you know, all of us who lead these recognize that we got lucky. You know, the opportunity happened to be there. And Oprah has a great quote about, you know, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. You know, I've been preparing all my life, and then I got lucky with this opportunity. And so what we try to do is scale that opportunity by having groups like this, is to share that opportunity with you. The fear never goes away. There's always going to be something, or there should always be something that's challenging you, that's going to scare you a little bit. If there's not, then you're not trying hard enough. You know, that's you grow when you're being challenged. You grow when there's fear. You grow when things are a little scary. You have to be uncomfortable to keep growing and challenging yourself. Like speaking, speaking. The first time I spoke at the women or my Girly Geeks, I was scared to death. You know, there were 17 women there, and they wanted to know why I wanted to start the chapter, and wasn't expecting that. And I had to get up and speak in front of them, and I was mumbling under my breath. They couldn't hear me. Somebody yelled, "Speak up, we can't hear you." And it was kind of, their tone was kind of like rude, and it upset me. And I had to like do everything I could not to cry right there on the spot in front of them. But I got through it. And I've, you know, over the years, I've gotten better and better at speaking. But each time I speak, it's scary. It's not something that's comfortable for me. I have to try to be as prepared as possible to push that fear down. That's how I combat the fear when I speak, is like trying to be as prepared as possible and to present in a storytelling way, because it makes it more comfortable for me. So yeah, I still have fear. It doesn't go away. You learn how to manage it, and you learn how to overcome it, and it catapults you even further up. Does that help?
That was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for asking. Like, ask questions. Y'all have me. I'm gonna be honest. You know how many people are always asking for my time? I've got a CEO of a company that sent me an email a month ago asking for my time. I still haven't responded.
I have a question.
Yes.
So what is imposter syndrome, and how do you overcome it? I mean, I'm asking to prompt discussion.
I love that question.
Yeah.
What was that last part?
I'm asking just to prompt the discussion. I know what it is, but just maybe if we don't know what, you know, just for others to understand what imposter syndrome is and how do you overcome it?
Oh, imposter. So it's, you know, imposter syndrome, to best, from my experience, is I felt like a fraud. I didn't really feel like I deserved to be there, or I was qualified to do the job. Like at Dell, for instance, I was like, I got lucky. Like they made a mistake in hiring me. I'm not supposed to be here. Like I was a total fraud. I wasn't capable. I couldn't do the job, and just, you know, was scared to death, like that they were going to find me out. Oh, good, great. You gave the actual definition.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of in real time putting some quotes that you're saying.
Yeah, definitely. Just, you know, and I think we all go through that. We're all our worst critics, you know, which is why it's so important to be involved in the community. They will show you a side of you that you don't see, you know. I definitely didn't know what I was capable of. My community, my friends, the people I worked with are the ones that made me confident in myself to be able to do what I do. I didn't, you know, and I'll tell you, I'm a normal person. There's nothing special about me at all. But you know, you get people around you who see your strengths, because we only see the bad. We only see the negative. We get in our own heads, and we got to get out of our heads. So surround yourself with people who are going to show you that what you are capable of. That's how you fight imposter syndrome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One thing I'd say about imposter syndrome, because I've had that early in my career as well, is you're really uncomfortable, but that uncomfortableness is, like what Stephanie said, is you actually growing, but it doesn't feel like it at the time. And then after a while, you end up becoming very comfortable in that, and you're not an imposter, and you probably never were, but your mind tells you otherwise.
Yep.
I guess, Stephanie, I'll prompt another question because I know this is where kind of the journey is for a lot of these folks. So if they're literally just learning what the word Salesforce is like 6 weeks ago, literally just creating their Trailhead account 5 weeks ago, and then starting Trails, and then they've had some good guest speakers about jobs and about what an admin does and about the company. I did a whole presentation on the history of the company and what they do. What would you give somebody at this stage in their journey, which is still very new, who is still trying to figure out if this is right for them, or that doesn't come from a book or a trail, if that makes sense?
I would say get involved in the community. And especially right now, it's virtual, so it makes it really easy for y'all to join. And I know it can be scary. That's another, going to a user group in person was really scary for me, as to the point where in 2008, when I was going, I always managed to sit next to a developer. I was like, oh, this is too technical. I'm not technical enough. And I actually dropped out. Then when I came back in 2012, I was like, this time I'm going to push through. I'm going to, not be so shy. And every time I go to a different event, I'm going to ask them, why are you here? Because, I know what I was looking for, but a lot of times you don't know what you don't know. And by doing that, I learned a lot. And I also found out that they weren't all developers, that there were admins like me, and that they were just as scared as I was, and just as curious too. They wanted to learn. So I would highly encourage you to get involved in the community. There's a lot of virtual user groups, admin user groups, developer user groups. You don't have to be technical to go to the developer user groups. You can it's great to have developer contacts for once you do become an admin that you can lean on. That's why I go to them. There's also Salesforce Saturdays. I'm in the process of putting together a virtual Spanish-speaking Salesforce Saturday for y'all. That'll be ready to go when y'all complete this program, so that y'all can just go to them and ask them questions. It's just very informal. We just come together and people, whatever, if you have homework or if you're working on something, through a trailhead badge that you're having problems with, you just ask and people will help you. It's crazy how many people just show up to help each other in this ecosystem. So I would strongly encourage you to get involved in the community. And like I said, you can just sit there and listen and learn. You don't have to speak up. But I do encourage you, like, once you get comfortable and you start seeing how everybody engages with each other, to start asking questions, because that's why they're there. They're there to help the new people. So definitely get involved in the community and lean on each other. At this point, find the different virtual groups. Before lockdown, we had to get dressed up and go to the groups. Now you can just roll out of bed and everybody comes to you. So this is a great time for y'all to truly take advantage of that.
I have sweatpants on right now, so it's perfectly fine.
Me too.
I actually got dressed up.
You should do like a Salesforce Saturday sweatpants day.
Yeah. Salesforce Saturdays are very, very informal. Even when we met in person, we would all just roll out of bed and show up. And then when we would see each other at an actual event, we're like, oh, wow, you clean up nicely.
You have makeup on.
I was like, wow, you look good. Casual.
Well, I encourage everybody to connect with Stephanie on LinkedIn. We're going to have a LinkedIn class. I think it's in April. So if you're not on LinkedIn, don't worry about it. We'll give you all these connections later. If you are, I put the link in there. And Stephanie, honestly, we really appreciate your heart and your mind and all of your inspiration today. I know I can talk all I want, but it's important to see successful Latina women in this workforce to help have that point where they can see it, that they can get there too. And it's just one of those things that I firmly believe in. You're more than welcome to stay on, but I know we've got a lot of class, and I know you have Salesforce Saturday in about half an hour.
I gotta run to Austin Salesforce Saturday, but thank y'all for having me. Also, get on.
Sorry, Hector, I have
Yes.
a question.
Of course. Go ahead, Johanna.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I love questions. Go ahead.
Okay. Stephanie, could you give us some advice for the certification exam?
Yes, study. There's all sorts of free resources out there. Go through the Trailhead and do at least at beginner admin module. Do that for sure. but there is Focus on Force, I believe, is a free one.
We have Focus on Force licenses. We're going to start giving them out in March. I want to get through a few trails first, but yeah.
Study together as a group. Ask each other questions and think through them. Certified on Demand is another really good one. It asks questions in the way that the exam is given, but just study. Like, I'm sure Hector's already told you, schedule the exam as soon as the class is done. But up until the point that you do the exam, every night you should be studying for like at least 45 minutes just to keep it in your mind and just to be in the way of doing to study for the exam. And the nice thing about the exam is, I haven't taken it virtual, but you can get set up, get your paper set up, and I like to line it up in columns of 10, so 10, then 11 through 20, 20 through 30, and then as you take the exam, what I do when I take the exam is I'll do a check mark if I felt like I knew the answer, or an X. If you don't know the answer, just guess something, go with your best guess, but mark it as an X, and then go all the way through the test just like that, and then come back and go to the ones that you had marked as an X, and then take your time and rethink the question, because a lot of times what you'll find out as you take the exam, you'll get another question that might give you the answer to the one that you were questioning you for. So then you go through the X's and you figure that out. And then after you've done that, go back through the ones that you thought you knew, that you checked, and slowly read through those. And every time I take an exam, I find, oh wait, I read that wrong. This is what it actually is. So you take the exam layered like that, and that'll help with your success rate.
That is probably the best piece of advice I got. Is that, and we're going to go into super detail, because I've got 5 certs, and I've taken them all in that kind of methodology where you mark out, because you only have to get, I think it's 65, 60%. Anyways, there's a certain number you have to get right, and once you like get that threshold of I'm confident that I got this many right, then you're kind of more relaxed and you're confident that you'll pass. But yeah, so Joanna and the rest of the class, there is a lot of let's call them tactics and strategies on how to take the test. So we're going to go over the structure, the question structure. I'll give you free access to Focus on Force, which has practice exams. But it's really important to start to get some of the trails out of the way, because some of the practice stuff is going to be a little difficult if you haven't gotten some of this behind you. But we do have a lot of different strategies on how to take it and where to take it. Well, virtual now, but we'll definitely share that with you guys.
Yeah, and study together, help each other. Like I said, y'all are a cohort. Y'all are a family now. Y'all got to look out for each other. That's how you will succeed. I promise you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, Stephanie. Really appreciate your time. Maybe we'll have you come back later, April, May, catch up with us. And have a great weekend. It's good to see you.
I will. Y'all too. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much.
See you.
Bye.
All right. So she's awesome. I really like her. Very inspirational. Check out the YouTube video if you haven't checked it out, not during class, but later on. It's a really inspirational story that Salesforce did on her. It's very well done. With that being said, we will now get into a lot of the fun class stuff here. I do want to just do one quick screen share, and then I'll pass it over to Isabel. So today we are here in the green area. I think you guys can see my screen. We'll be talking about security. Can you guys see my screen okay? Yeah. We'll be talking about security and access. We already talked to Stephanie. Obviously, Isabel's here, and then Tony will come a little bit later for office hours. Next week is a lot. We have Grisel back. We also have Kuzamala. I can't never pronounce his name. He is the practice lead for Aperio, which is a big hiring company, and they need people like you. They have a Salesforce development center growing in Monterrey and in, I think, Guadalajara. So it'll be fun next week. But this week, we will focus on all this fun stuff. So Isabel, the floor is yours. I will stop talking.
Thank you, Hector.
Mm-hmm.
So just a quick question. I understood I could do it either in English or Spanish. I prepared the material in English because That's how I've learned, and I think it's easier to learn like that in Salesforce. But how do you prefer that I explain?
Well, no, thank you for asking. So I think we've asked the students, and they've actually said, a majority said English. We've also talked to hiring managers who hire in Mexico, and because a lot of the support and work is done with English-speaking companies, it's a critical skill set. So I would say English. But if you feel comfortable, if you need to explain something more in Spanish, or you want to pivot to Spanish for a minute or two, that's perfectly fine. Okay. I may get lost, but that's not important. But English is slightly preferred, especially because you actually just said it. You learned it in English, and I think it's going to be helpful for their future. So yeah, I hope that answers it.
Okay, perfect. That answers it perfectly. So English it will be. I will start sharing my screen, and just let me know when you can see it. Okay, you should see the first page of my presentation.
We can see it.
Okay, so data security, I think it's really simple, but it's one of the most important things that I found when studying for my admin certification and others that come after that. It's something so basic that we need to understand before we can, so we can understand how Salesforce works and the data. So this is how we will protect our data in Salesforce. It's really important how the organization will control who sees what and how we are sharing our information in Salesforce. So please stop me if you have any questions. I am not seeing right now the raise your hand, so you can speak up if you want to interrupt me and ask a question. And so feel free to interrupt me. So one tip that I will give you, this image, I found it in a webinar that they were giving out of when I was preparing for my admin certification. And this just made me understand everything, because it can be a little confusing since there are different levels of granting the security, and I always got messed up one with the other. And this picture, I just really keep it in mind and go back to it whenever you need, because this will just put all your thoughts in line about the information and what to do where. So I will start. This is, we have 4 levels. I don't know if levels is the right word, but let's say we have the organization, which is the big one. You can see it's the bigger square. First of all, how do we access the organization? So I will get into it. I have a slide for each square and a little exercise for each one, but I'll just speak right now in general. So the organization, how are we going to access the organization? Do we have restriction of an IP range? Are there hours in which we can or cannot log in? So that's like, let's say, the first level. So now that we are in the organization, we have the objects. The objects in Salesforce, as you have seen, they can be standard, like accounts, opportunities, leads, contacts, or they can be custom objects that you create for your organization. Let's say employees or something like that. So we can also control what access each user has to each object and what can they do with those objects. Can they only see them? Can they create and modify them? Can they delete them? So we will get into that. And this is done by profiles. I will get more into why it's done with profiles in a little bit. And now we are able to access the object, but which records are we going to be able to see? Am I going to be able to see only my records and only my information, or am I going to be able to see all the organization's records? So this one is the one that has a little more information, but I swear it's really easy once we understand it. And now that smallest level is the fields. So the fields are account name or age or email address, or let's say in the example of my custom object employee, I have the field salary. And maybe that field salary is a little sensitive, so not everyone can see that field. So we can also control access to the fields and who sees what. So maybe right now I talked a lot and it's a little overwhelming, but I will get into every level and we will do an exercise so you can see that it's super easy. And please just ask me any questions if you have. Okay, so the first level that we talked about was the organization. So for your whole organization, you can maintain a list of authorized users, you can set password policies and limit login to certain hours and locations. So let's say that I only want my people to access the organization in the office. I don't want them to be logging in their house. I don't want them to log in a coffee shop. So you can add the IP range in which you allow them to enter the organization, and they won't be able to access if they're not there. Or you can also add trusted IP ranges, which is where you know it's a safe location, like the office or maybe their home, where they won't need constant verification that they are there. And login hours, as I said before, you can restrict, let's say I just want my people to be logging in my organization from 8 to 6. I don't want them logging in at night. I don't want them moving stuff. So you can restrict the hours that they can log in. And we can also do this to different profiles. Let's say I want everyone in the organization except the people from IT to log in at the normal office hours. So I will give the profile from the IT group maybe a wider range, and maybe I can give them, all day or not restrict them, and everyone else have a restriction. So I will go now for my exercise, and we will create a profile, and in this case, we'll just access a profile that is already created, and we will assign them login hours and login IP ranges, which you will see it's super easy. I will go now to my, I have a playground open here. So this is my Sales Cloud, and I will just go here to setup. So most of the things we're going to be doing today are going to be here in users, and another is going to be in sharing. So as you know, we have our users, and I will probably have, I don't know, 10, hundreds and thousands of users in my organization, and it would not be very efficient to define the characteristics of each person individually. That's why we have profiles. I don't know if you have discussed already profiles, but here we group certain people depending on characteristics or roles. Let's say, as I was saying before, I have all my HR reps, I have my sales reps, I have my IT guys. So since they are similar in what they should see and how they work, we have profiles to group those people and to make the sharing and the data security model more efficient. So each person will have a user, but we will have profiles that will have several users assigned to them. So most of the things that we do for the security will depend on the profile. And there are things that we can, I will get into that later, but I have a profile with people who need access to certain things, but maybe one person in there needs access to something else or needs an additional permission. I will not create a different profile for them. That's why we have some sharing rules, which I will get into later. So that being said, I have my profiles, and I will just get into an support profile. Let's say, for example, this is my profile for IT support. And as you can see at the very, very bottom, we can see here login hours and login IP ranges. And just parentheses, all of this is from the two models that you saw, and they are really similar. You will do exercises like this, so hopefully when you do them, you will get the hang of them.
Isabel, tengo una pregunta, perdón.
Sí, pregúntame.
Entiendo que cuando, por ejemplo, tienes una organización pequeña, dar de alta usuario por usuario, pues puede ser factible, ¿no? Sí. Pero si tienes una organización grande, ¿habrá alguna opción de ya tener como una lista predeterminada de usuarios y aventarlos ahí?
Sí, súper buena pregunta. Hay una cosa que se llama Data Loader y es como una aplicación que yo tengo aquí. Si quieren ahorita le enseño cómo se ve. Y exactamente como dices, no te va a salir crear 1000 usuarios de una vez, pero tú puedes tener, el Data Loader te permite subir información a Salesforce, ya sea usuarios o registros. Se puede subir de todo. Entonces, tú en tu Excel hay cierto formato para eso y simplemente pones la columna de nombre, correo electrónico, perfil, todo eso, y ya subes los 1000 usuarios que quieras de una vez. Entonces, sí. No sé si eso respondió a tu pregunta.
Sí, sí, la respuesta. Esa es una aplicación afuera de Salesforce que usas, que es compatible o algo así, ¿no?
Exacto, mira, es una aplicación, a ver si todavía la tengo porque, mira, aquí está, Data Loader. Y aquí tú vas a subir el archivo. Entonces, es una aplicación externa, pero es de Salesforce. Me refiero, no está dentro de la página, sino es una que tienes que bajar. Y aquí yo puedo subir, incluso borrar o actualizar información. Entonces, es muy sencilla de usar. No sé si después va a haber un tema de esto, pero ahorita no me voy a meter mucho, pero para que sepan que pues existe esta opción.
Ok, gracias.
De nada. Muy bien. Entonces, perdón. Okay. Here I am. And so now we talked about login hours and login IP ranges. You will see how easy it is. Let's say I want to restrict this person, and we have every day of the week, and you can select a start time and an end time. It's really super simple. And I can not add any restriction. On maybe Monday, I can maybe just restrict on the weekends, or it's just completely up to you. And that is how you add the login hours now. So you will see here the specification. If I didn't add anything, I will see that it's available all day. And if I add a restriction, I will see here the hours that I am available to enter. So as you can see, super easy. Just you have to know where to do it. I think that's the thing that's important, because we know that they exist, but okay, where do I do it? I do it in profiles, and this is how I do it. And now login IP ranges. Again, super simple. I just add the IP, which should be a number like this. And it's like the range. You can maybe add a description like office and save it. I don't know if it will let me save because it's not a valid. Okay, it let. And there you go. Super, super easy to add these two things. I don't know if you have a question about this, but I think it's pretty simple. It's just that you know that you can add these restrictions to the people accessing your organization.
Yo tengo una pregunta.
Sí.
Ok, cuando, por ejemplo, quiere entrar, pero no está en el IP que ya pusiste ahí, simplemente no te deja o te manda una notificación como de que no puede entrar, tratando de entrar, o simplemente no te deja y ya.
Es que aquí el que tenga aceptado es que yo aquí puedo entrar sin problema, y en el que no esté aquí va a ser que no voy a poder entrar. Fíjate que nunca me he metido a uno que no se pueda. No estoy segura si te pide verificación o simplemente no te deja entrar. Ahorita se los confirmo, pero es como estoy casi segura que es que no te deja entrar. Simplemente nada más puedes entrar en que tienes permitido.
Si me permites un comentario, yo tengo restricción de IP en el trabajo.
Okay.
Cuando necesitamos entrar a producción, que producción es donde realmente la gente trabaja, y un sandbox es en donde pruebas y haces cosas que puedes echar a perder sin echar a perder el trabajo de la gente. Yo tengo restricción de IP porque no estoy en Estados Unidos. Entonces, toda la parte de desarrollo y los sandboxes puedo entrar desde mi casa, que yo estoy en Uruguay, pero si quiero entrar a producción me tengo que conectar a un escritorio remoto, o sea, como que me conectara a una máquina en Estados Unidos y desde ahí puedo entrar. Si yo quiero entrar desde mi casa, o sea, en mi computadora personal, no me deja y me manda un error como que estuviera poniendo mal el password o como que no funcionaran mis credenciales. Es simplemente eso. Y no te dice realmente, no puedes entrar porque no estás en Estados Unidos. O sea, simplemente no te sirve. Es como que te hubieras olvidado el password.
Perfecto, muchas gracias, sí. No sé si alguien más tiene una duda sobre esto, pero creo que...
Yo sí tengo una duda. Perdón, buenos días.
Hola, buenos días.
Sí, entiendo que como administradores damos de alta y modificamos roles o perfiles de los usuarios, pero en la jerarquía de los roles, ¿alguien más puede modificar los roles? O en este caso, si en caso de que solamente el administrador pueda modificar los roles o los perfiles, los controles de usuario, ¿cuántos administradores puede haber para una organización o cuántos se les puede dar acceso?
Sí, mira, la gente que tiene, depende mucho de la licencia y el perfil y el permiso que ustedes les den. Como administrador, se recomienda que no se tengan muchos. Se pueden tener varios y también depende de las licencias, porque puede que haya una licencia que, no sé, solamente tengas acceso a cosas muy básicas, pero no se recomienda que tengan muchos administradores, ya que entre que todo lo empiezan a mover se puede hacer mucho relajo. Pero por ejemplo, si yo tengo mi usuario de ventas, el de RH, por lo general ellos no son System Administrators y ellos no van a ver esta tuerquita de aquí de setup. Ellos no se meten acá, ellos únicamente están trabajando en sus cosas y están manejando sus cuentas y manejando acá todo, pero solamente la gente que tenga el perfil de administrador va a poder entrar acá a hacer esto. Y esto de los roles de jerarquía, ahorita voy a entrar más a detalle a eso, pero no te puedo decir un número de recomendado, pero no se recomienda que se tengan muchos. Por lo general se tiene uno, si acaso dos, bueno, es lo que a mí me ha tocado, porque ya si le empieza a mover mucha gente y no hay comunicación en lo que le movió uno y le movió otro, pues pueden chocar ciertas cosas. Eso sí me ha pasado que uno le movió y no le avisó y eso causó que no sé, fallara una cosa. Entonces, ahorita, por ejemplo, yo puedo ver aquí que tiene el perfil de System Administrator y yo le puedo asignar este perfil a todos los que me permita la licencia, porque como puedo ver acá, yo tengo una licencia de Chatter. Esta no me va a dejar asignarle de administrador porque es una licencia más básica. Como ven aquí no me sale la opción. Pero si yo tuviera licencia de Salesforce, aquí sí ya lo puedo agregar. Entonces, el límite depende mucho de la licencia, pero la recomendación pues es que no se tengan muchos administradores del sistema. ¿Sí?
Ok, sí, excelente, muchas gracias.
De nada.
Isabel, tengo otra pregunta.
Sí, claro.
Cuando, por ejemplo, un administrador, o son 2 o 3 administradores, entiendo que la parte de administrar pues es para mantener el control, o sea, y no tener más administradores para no causar el problema o detalle. La pregunta es, por ejemplo, yo soy administrador, hago un login. Si hay forma de ver la persona que se logueó antes que yo, por ejemplo, si antes se logueó a una persona y yo quiero entrar, sí tenemos forma de ver quién se logueó antes.
Es que mira, lo que tú puedes ver, lo que no se recomienda es, y mucha gente lo hace, es como compartir licencia. Cada usuario tiene que tener una licencia, ¿no? Y lo que de repente hacen es, bueno, tengo una licencia para administrador y que diferente gente se meta. Eso no se recomienda, también por lo mismo que dices, de no se tiene el control de quién está moviendo qué. Lo que sí existe son login history. Entonces tú puedes ver a la hora que se metieron y de qué ubicación, y creo que también sale si se metieron de Mac o de PC. Entonces aquí puedes ver un poco más de información.
¿Y sale qué es lo que hicieron?
No, Eso no. Y esa es la cosa. Tú puedes ver lo que hizo cada usuario. Me refiero, Salesforce tiene un audit trail y puedes ver lo que ha pasado, pero no puedes ver dentro de un mismo usuario si diferente gente se metió que le movieron. Pero sí puedes ver de diferentes usuarios quién hizo qué. Por eso no es muy recomendable compartir licencia. Pero no sé si eso contestó tu pregunta de, bueno, aquí puedo ver si 2 personas tenían acceso a este usuario, quién se metió, pero no es lo recomendable. Pero de usuario a usuario, yo sí puedo ver que el usuario Isabel movió algo y el usuario Juan movió otra cosa. Eso sí se puede.
Ok, gracias, sir. Thank you.
De nada. Okay, so if there are not more questions, I will continue to the next level, which now we're going to be talking about the object. So now that I have access to the organization and I was able to log in my IP range and in the hours that correspond to me, I will now I will now see what objects I can see. So I will go here. So as it says here, it's the simplest thing to control. You can set permissions on a particular type of object, and you can prevent or give access to groups from creating, viewing, editing, or deleting, which that is the CRED. I will put that in the next slide. So we have, as I said, the license and the CRED.
Perdón por interrumpirte. Es que me queda la duda de cuando dices Trusted IP Range, ¿se refiere a lo que decía Bárbara de las IPs por ubicación mundial?
No, haz de cuenta lo que platicó Bárbara, ella, la organización tenía un IP, si me voy acá, tenía un IP range en el que permiten entrar. Entonces, como el IP solamente abarca, supongo, Estados Unidos, ella no puede entrar a la organización estando en cualquier parte que no sea Estados Unidos, al menos que tenga ahí una VPN. El Trusted IP es, por ejemplo, no sé si ya vieron, cada vez que se entra a Salesforce, por lo general te pide como una verificación. Si, no sé, es si yo siempre me meto a la oficina y un día me meto en mi casa, a lo mejor y me va a pedir una verificación de que sí soy yo. Entonces, este Trusted IP es como para que tú le digas a Salesforce, aquí está bien que trabajen, no necesitas siempre pedir verificación. Entonces, se puede dar de alta la casa. Por ejemplo, a lo mejor ahorita que todo el mundo está trabajando desde casa, les dieron el Trusted IP de sus casas o siempre tenían la oficina. Entonces, es diferente como la restricción de que solamente me puedo meter en la oficina confío que te metas en la oficina, en la casa, pero no te limito a que te metas en un café.
¿Y eso tiene que ver con el multifactor authentication?
Sí, o sea, el Trusted IP ya no te va a tener que autentificar porque estás en la oficina. Ahí saben que ahí sí, la persona que se meta en la oficina sí debería estar trabajando. Entonces, el Trusted no te restringe, sino te asegura que en esa ubicación en la que estás, sí puedes entrar.
Muchas gracias.
Otra pregunta, Isabel, otra pregunta, sorry.
No,
por ejemplo, cuando estoy trabajando en casa, existe la forma de que nosotros le pongamos una IP estática para que de esa forma nosotros trabajemos desde casa y si nos movemos a otro lugar, nos salimos de rango de IP. ¿Es posible ponerles una IP estática? O sea, una fija, que ya no nos movamos.
¿Te refieres, o sea, decirle a Salesforce, solo en esta puedo trabajar?
Sí, sí.
Sí, ajá, es que eso viene siendo, el login IP range. Es decir, solo en esta IP voy a poder meterme. Entonces, si te sales de esa IP, ya no te va a dejar entrar.
Ok.
¿Sí?
Perdón, no sé si a lo mejor yo me estoy confundiendo, pero yo tengo entendido, la dirección IP la asigna el router o el medio de comunicación con el que estemos haciendo la conexión a internet, y ya puede ser estática o dinámica dependiendo de cómo lo configuremos en el router. Pero entiendo más esta parte que me estaba explicando del Trust Organization. Bueno, como cuando, sí, en una computadora, si nos registramos en una red doméstica, pues luego nos limita algunos accesos porque es red doméstica. Si entramos a una red pública, también nos limita otro tipo de accesos, y si entramos en un dominio o una red organizacional, pues nos da los accesos de la organización completos. No sé si a eso se está refiriendo, pero la dirección IP depende del, bueno, en las organizaciones, en las redes organizacionales, pues sí manejan un rango de IPs, digamos, privados, no sé, 10, empezando con 1037, 1080, X. Y las redes públicas manejan las IPs públicas, 192, 168, etcétera. Pero no sé si se refiere a que, yo entiendo que lo que está comentando de los modos seguros o las redes seguras son los dominios dependiendo de la red a la que estemos conectados, pero las direcciones IP van a variar dependiendo del router, que ya sea que asigne las IPs dinámicas o estáticas, ¿no?
Sí. Ya me perdiste un poco con todo lo de la IP. La verdad, yo les sé muy básico, si les soy honesta, a asignarlas. Pero no sé si viéndolo acá se te facilita un poco más.
Si me permites
Claro, por favor.
metichar de nuevo acá y dar un ejemplo.
Sí.
Volviendo a lo que decía Isabel, ¿no? Yo tengo un login IP range restringido en mi perfil de administrador para producción, ¿no? Entonces, solo me puedo conectar desde una IP que está dentro de un rango, porque los rangos de IPs se asignan, usualmente empieza como va restringiendo, ¿no? Por país y o sea, cada país tiene un rango de IP definido, y lo que decía Manuel, me parece, es las empresas contratan también rangos de IP. Entonces, yo tengo en mi perfil un rango de IP definido que aplica solo a Estados Unidos y capaz que aplica solo a Chicago, ¿no? Entonces, solo desde esa computadora yo puedo entrar a esa, a esa organización, ¿no? El Trusted IP Range es lo que decía Isabel de voy a permitir que la computadora que se conecta desde esta IP específica, por ejemplo, pueda entrar sin autenticarse. Cada vez que tú te metes desde un browser nuevo, te pide que te manda un código de verificación y todo ese rollo. Nosotros estábamos haciendo pruebas y estábamos conectando, no queríamos hacer ese proceso de autenticación que te mandaron mail y confirmaras el código que te manda por mail, porque nos trababa el proceso, ¿no? Entonces pusimos la IP de esa computadora, que lo que decía Manuel, cambia dinámicamente cada 12 o 24 horas, no sé. Entonces cada día teníamos que actualizar la Trusted IP para que no nos mandara ese código de verificación. No sé si esto ayuda un poco a diferenciar esos dos puntos.
Sí.
Perdón. Bueno, sí, yo por ejemplo, sí, exactamente, yo igual, en el servidor de la compañía, pues, tenemos un rango de IPs así de 1037 y dependiendo el tipo de máquina, pues se le asignan los últimos dos campos de la IP. Pero igual, si yo quisiera accesar a conectarme a alguna de esas máquinas, necesito un programa especial para que desde una red fuera de la empresa, una red, digamos, ya sea pública o doméstica, se me dé el acceso y a esa dirección IP, ¿no? Como un visitante, y poder conectarme a cualquiera de los equipos. Pero sí, siempre que es una red fuera de la red organizacional, pues sí necesita un programa para conectarse a los rangos, y ya, pues dentro de los rangos, pues puede haber, como dice, equipos con IPs estáticas que accesen sin autenticación.
Perfecto. ¿Alguien más tiene una duda de esto mismo antes de seguir al siguiente tema? Ok.
No, sin duda.
Creo que fue Bárbara la que habló, no puedo ver aquí, pero muchas gracias por aclarar eso. Y bueno, ahora vamos a ver el acceso al objeto como, no, en inglés. So now we will see, now that we're able to enter the organization, what objects can we see and what can we do with them. So we have these 4 permissions when we're talking about objects. Can we create an object? Can we read them, edit, or delete? These are the 4 things that we can give access to separately. And as I mentioned before, what happens if I have one person or several people assigned to one profile that need additional permissions than the one the profile has? That's where permission sets come in. So I will go now to Salesforce so you can see it and understand a little bit more. I have here the profile that we were working on, and we assigned the login hours and IP range. You can see there are a lot of things here to configure, but I will just go here on edit so you can see the part of the objects. So here we have standard object and the permissions, and we also have, if we had any custom objects, we would see them here on another section. So these are all the objects, all the standard objects that we have right now in Salesforce. In this profile, we can see what the people assigned in this profile, what they can do with each object. So all of these objects, they cannot even see anything from them. But we can see that they can see leads and they can read, create, edit, or delete. So what usually, for example, let's say they can only see products or create products. So that's why we can give the access to, let's say this, but I don't want them to delete, or I just want them to read and create. So this is really simple. You just decide what each profile needs to work on. So if, for example, I don't want the IT support people to be working on, I don't know, leads, we can just completely delete the access to one of these objects. But let's say that I have, for example, they can read, create, and edit leads. And I don't want them to delete any leads. I just want them to see them, and they can modify them and create them, but I don't want them to delete them. But I have one person that belongs to this profile that I do need them to delete. So instead of creating another profile with the same permissions but with a delete, I will create a permission set, which is a way to open up access. Permission sets cannot restrict access. They can just open up and give additional access to something. So I will create one, and you can see it will be really simple. I will just delete leads, for example. So users are able to delete. And now we can assign this to a specific license or just do it in general. And I will save my permission set. And this is where I will let Salesforce know what I want this permission set to allow. So I will go to here in apps, I have object settings. Since I want to give an access to an object, which is lead, I will go here. And I will select my object leads, which is the one we were working on. And I will tell Salesforce, I want the person or the people that are assigned to this permission set to be able to delete leads. And as you can see, this comes like a predetermined. If they delete, they can obviously read and edit them. So I will save. Now this permission set allows people to delete my leads. Now I need to assign this permission set to the people I want to have it. So here.
Disculpa, perdón, una pregunta. Es que me perdí. ¿Cuál es la diferencia entre asignarle permiso por cada objeto y crear
El permission.
Ajá.
Sí, mira, es que los perfiles, ponle tú que tienes a un grupo de personas, no sé, la gente, como dije ahorita, los de RH, los de ventas, los de soporte. Entonces, tú agrupas, para no darle un permiso, imagínate, no sería factible darle a cada usuario un perfil diferente para todas las cosas que tienen que ver. Entonces, hacen estas agrupaciones de que, bueno, yo sé que más o menos toda la gente de RH va a poder trabajar estos objetos y ellos no tienen que ver esto. Entonces, para eso tienen los perfiles. Pero puede que una persona, ponle tú que el jefe, que es de RH y pertenece a ese grupo, pero yo necesito que él vea otras cosas también. O yo necesito que él sí pueda borrar algún objeto o pueda ver otro adicional. En vez de crearle un perfil nuevo a esa persona, que por lo general tiene todo similar a este grupo, le asigno un permission set.
Ok, perfecto. Ya lo comprendo. Ok, muchas gracias.
Si alguien más tiene duda, párenme. Les prometo que a mí me tardó mucho en entender la diferencia de todo y cómo se hace todo, entonces no hay ninguna pregunta que crean que no deban de hacer. Ustedes pregúntenme todo. Okay, so now that we have the permission set created, I need to assign it. So right now it just exists and I will give any user permission to delete leads. So now I will say who should have this permission. And it's really easy to just add assignments. This is what I love about Salesforce. It's just so, I mean, once you know what to do, it's just so easy to do it. So these are all the users that right now exist in my organization. I can even, filter them by active users. And I will just select, let's say I want to give this permission to myself. And so now I see that I have this permission to delete leads, even if my profile does not allow me to. This permission set will give me that additional permission to delete leads. And so if I go to my user, I will see that I have this permission set assigned, which is delete leads. And
one thing, just you may have said this, Isabel, but one thing that's important is in the business world, sometimes there are like HR or a marketing manager or one person or two people that need to do specialized things. And the permission sets become very important if you just want to see the compensation of an employee. You only want HR to have that permission set, or in this example, only one person can delete leads, which is a good thing, right? You don't want everybody deleting everything. So think about it as more of a specialized security tool for the business. Okay, I'll be quiet.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. It's and I was telling them in Spanish, I'm sorry, that let's say we have that person that belongs to a profile that needs extra access. Instead of creating a new profile and giving them that access, that's why we have the permission sets, to allow them to have that extra permission. But when they're still considered as HR or marketing, we don't want to start creating multiple profiles for all the different characteristics. So this was pretty simple. This was the object. And one thing that it's here in the presentation, we have also the license, and that's just, there are different licenses that allow access to objects. So as I was saying, when someone asked the question about the system administrator, for example, this chatter user, he will not be able to access any object since he has a chatter free license. So maybe there's a Salesforce platform which also only allows certain objects. So that's also a limitation to what objects you can see, the license. But generally, what administrators are going to be doing to control the access to the objects is going to be the thing we just saw with the profile and with the permission set. So I don't know if anyone has any questions about this.
Tengo una pregunta que quizás sea muy tonta, pero
no,
cuando hay dos administradores, ¿un administrador puede bloquearle ciertos objetos a otro? Es decir, puede cambiar el perfil, puede decir, voy a ser malicioso y te voy a quitar el acceso a esto.
Mira, no, porque el administrador del sistema es un perfil. Entonces, si yo quiero afectar a otro administrador, me afecta a mí también porque yo tengo el mismo perfil. Entonces, como ven aquí, ¿cómo me cambió? Yo tengo mi perfil de administrador del sistema. Entonces, yo y el otro usuario malicioso tenemos el mismo perfil. Entonces, si yo le muevo algo a pues también me afecta a mí.
Pero podría crearle un permission set, ¿no? Y decir, o sea, voy a crear, o sea, no sé, por eso pregunto, ¿no? Porque sí, yo sé que como perfil lo compartimos lo mismo, pero yo digo, voy a crearte un permission set que no te permita borrar esto, que no te permita ver esto ya, ¿no?
Que eso es súper importante ahorita que lo dices. El permission set no puede restringir, solo da acceso adicional. Yo no puedo crear un permission set diciendo no puedes borrar o no puedes ver. Simplemente es dar acceso adicional. ¿Me explico? Entonces, no hay nada que restrinja. O sea, tú en el perfil restringes y si algo necesitas extra, le das un permission set. Pero el permission set no te va a poder restringir más. Simplemente te abre más acceso.
Ok.
Entonces, tu pregunta fue muy buena porque para que quede muy claro eso, ¿no? Es un permiso adicional. Yo no puedo restringirle con un permiso. ¿Me explico?
Sí, gracias.
Y bueno, Isabel, hola, soy Tony. Una de las cosas que tiene Salesforce es delegated administration. Mm-hmm. So instead of giving the same permissions to another person to be an admin, you can delegate certain things that a person can do. So instead of opening everything to that other admin, you can just restrict by making him a delegated admin. So you restrict what they can do. So that's another option.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry.
No. Thank you so much.
Oh, bueno, tengo otra pregunta. Perdón. Pero adelante, si quieren primero ya.
No, que vaya el primero.
Bueno, es que acerca de esto mismo, hace rato preguntaba, ¿no? ¿Cuántos usuarios o administradores pueden meterse a modificar los perfiles? Pero, bueno, en el dado caso que alguna empresa adquiera solamente la licencia para un administrador, ese administrador puede, por medio de un permission set, digamos, habilitar a otro que haga sus funciones de administrador sin tener licencia de administrador, no sé.
Sí, es justo lo que dijo, no sé quién lo dijo ahorita, pero que puedes tener un delegated administrator, entonces le puedes como pasar ciertas permisos para hacer tareas, ya sea que, no sé, de dar permisos, de crear perfiles, etc.
Ok, muchas gracias.
De nada. Ok, no sé si hay otra pregunta.
Sí, yo era. Ok. Cuando esto del permission set también sirve para las jerarquías, o sea, por ejemplo, ¿puede ser como un plus para eso? O es que no sé cómo explicarlo, pero sí puede servir para las jerarquías.
Sí, mira, ahorita ya voy a entrar al siguiente tema donde entran las jerarquías y a ver si ya queda un poquito más claro y si no ya me vuelves a preguntar porque te digo, es muy confuso, es fácil ya que lo entiendes, pero a veces poner nuestros pensamientos en orden. Aquí la jerarquía habla más de los registros. Esto habla más de nivel objeto. Entonces, voy a explicar ahorita los registros y me vuelves a preguntar si todavía te queda duda. ¿Sí? ¿Te parece?
Ok, gracias.
De nada. Muy bien. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the next level, the record. So we have access, in my profile, I have access to certain objects. But now, within those objects that I can see, what information can I see? Can I see only my records that I create, my data, or can I see everyone's? Or can I see everyone's but not modify them? So this is what we're gonna do. This is the one that has, more information, but it's also really simple. So we have organization-wide defaults. I always used to confuse organization-wide defaults with this organization. So let's just think as this organization-wide defaults as how is my organization gonna behave regarding records? So we're talking right now about records. This is all the information that we put into Salesforce. So a lead that I create, my accounts, the opportunities, all these are records. So we can define how each object behaves for the records in our organization. So I will just go in here so I can make myself a little bit more clear. I can go here to sharing settings. And as you can see, here is my organization-wide defaults. So the administrator will define how each object will behave in the organization. So do I want my lead, and I will go a little back to the presentation. We have these 4 options. So I can have public read-write, which means everyone can see everyone's information and edit everyone's records. I have public read-only, which means I can see everyone's information, but I can only edit my own records. And we have private, which means I can only see what I create and my records. And controlled by parent, which is, let's say we have a master detail relationship. And so I have the parent and the child record. And if I have access to the parent record, I will be able to see all the child-related records. So just to think about it a little bit easier, is my organization private or public? Do I want everyone to see everything from everyone, or do I want the records to be more private? But we can define this for objects. So it's not, you define for each object, each of these things. So I want leads to be, let's say, public read-write, and accounts public read-write, or I want accounts to be public. Oh, okay, so this is just the levels you're gonna define for each object. And I will just, I will not say this because it has to do something, but this is how our objects will, our records in each object will behave. But now, let's say that I have all my objects in private, so only I can see my information. But what happens if, let's say, the CEO needs to see all the information and my boss needs to see my records too? So this is where the role hierarchy works, or how it works. So let's say I will go back here to the presentation. It gives access to users higher in the hierarchy to all the records owned by users below them in the hierarchy. So this is so we don't have to create manual sharing rules or manual sharing of all the records. This, I just want to be clear, role hierarchies only functions if the organization is private, because if it's public, then everyone can see everyone's information. But if my organization is private and most of my records behave in a private manner, this is how we start giving access to other people. So what happens with role hierarchy? I can, as you can see here, a little example, I have the CEO, and this person can see all the records from everyone below them. And then this Western sales director can see all of the records from the people below him, but he cannot see these people's records or these people's. The CEO can, but this one, only the ones below them, and same as this one with this. So once you set up the roles, you have, let's say, CEO, and then I can add, I don't know, sales VP, and I can tell who this person reports to. And so I will see that this person is below, I'm sorry, I don't think I saved it. Sales VP. Director. Okay, and then I have IT support. And let's say I have my sales rep. And this person, he reports to the sales director. So you start to build the hierarchy. And so role is very different than profile. And we can see here how it starts to como abrir el árbol. So we can see that this CEO will see all of these people's records, and this sales director will be able to see these people's records. I don't know if I'm making myself clear or if I confused you guys a little bit, but you can assign the roles to every user. So if we go here, you can see that I have my profile and I also have a role. So when I give a user a role, it just tells me, where does this person belong to? Is she is she a sales rep? Is she the sales director? So every user can or cannot have a role, and this is where we will use the hierarchy. So if my information is private, this will open up access to the people below them in the hierarchy. Now, what happens if I want to share additional records, let's say horizontally? So all the directors need to see the same information, or maybe all the sales rep from international with Eastern and Western. And that is when we use our sharing rules. And we have two types of ways of sharing a rule. We can based on the record owner or based on specific criteria. So let me just go and create one so you can see real quick. Someone please stop me if I'm confusing you. But okay, so let's yes.
Ay, perdóname, es que tenía una pregunta, me sale una pregunta. Dijiste que si te entendí bien, que podías asignar un rol o simplemente no asignar nada, ¿no? Entonces, mi pregunta es, cuando digamos que dejas a una persona fuera, la das de alta como usuario, pero a esa persona no le asignaste ningún rol, ¿qué puede ver esa persona? ¿Qué puede ver esa persona?
Si la organización, la organización, y hablamos que se divide por cada objeto, ¿no? Si en un objeto que ella tiene acceso, porque en su perfil tiene acceso, por ejemplo, a leads, ella ya puede ver el objeto leads. Ahora, ¿qué registros va a ver? ¿Cómo se comporta lead aquí en Organization Wide Default? ¿Es público o es privado? Si es privado y ella no tiene ningún rol, ella solamente va a poder ver sus datos, ¿verdad? Y no va a poder ver la información de nadie más porque no se le ha dado ni el permiso de ver otros datos, y la organización en el objeto lead al que ella tiene acceso es privada. Entonces, únicamente puede ver sus datos. Y en caso de que a esa persona le asignes un rol, y suponiendo que tiene 3 personas abajo de ella en la jerarquía, ese rol va a poder ver sus registros y los registros de la gente abajo de ella. No sé si me expliqué. Está un poco confuso, pero...
me sale otra duda. Digamos que tengo un compañero que está en el mismo nivel de jerárquico, ¿no?
Sí.
¿Puedo ver lo de él?
Es justo esto lo de sharing settings, porque como vemos...
Ok, perdón.
No te apures, pero si estamos en el mismo nivel de la jerarquía, pero no tienes ninguna conexión con la persona, simplemente tú eres directora de RH y él es director de marketing, nada más vas a poder ver los de tu gente. Y aquí es donde entra sharing settings. Lo voy a explicar en inglés. Y ahorita dime si te queda una duda. So let's say that we need to share from one director to another, that all the people in the same level of the hierarchy need to see the things that the other one sees. So let's say we want to share the from opportunities. So what happens here is that we have here sharing rules from each object that we can create. And as I said before, this can be based on record owner or based on criteria. So record owner means that I can define every, if the record is owned by the, I don't know, IT support, then share it with the sales VP. Okay, and what access am I giving these people? Can they only see them, or can they see them and edit the records? So this is something else that we can define with the sharing rule. Or you can share it based on criteria. So let's say if the stage equals, I don't know, negotiation review, I need someone else to review it before they close the opportunity. I don't know. So that's based on criteria. So based on specific fields, and you can add any filter logic here. So it can be this and this, or this or that. And who will I share it with? Well, I want to share it with the people. It can be the role or the roles and subordinates of the sales VP, for example. So this is the way to grant access kind of horizontally. So that role hierarchy is vertically, so, up, down, and this can allow access to, someone with my same role or the same role in the people below them. I don't know if that answers your question.
Una pregunta, me queda la duda de cuando tú le seleccionas based on record owner, ahí le estás dando acceso a todos los records que tenemos al mismo nivel, y cuando dices based on criteria, ahí le estás dando a ciertos records, ¿o cómo?
Exacto, exacto. O sea, based on record owner es, te voy a compartir todos los datos si yo o este grupo es el dueño. Pero based on criteria, solamente te va a compartir los datos que te vayan a importar a ti. Entonces, solamente si el campo es igual a tal, te los voy a compartir. Entonces, justo lo que dices, based on record owner, te comparto todos los que el owner que yo especifique aquí tiene, y el otro son solamente ciertos registros que cumplen esa característica.
Ok. Sí, me queda muy claro, gracias.
Qué bueno, muy bien. I don't know if someone else has a question.
Yo.
Yeah.
Perdón.
Sí.
Sí, ya lo olvidé, perdón. No, era... en esta parte de que si entra alguien y no le habíamos asignado ningún rol y se va directo al de usuario, no sé, visitante, el rol que se le asigne o que le dé, va a entrar a ver, va a poder ver los objetos, pero bueno, entiendo que Salesforce tiene objetos estándar, accounts, opportunities, todos esos. ¿Va a poder ver esos? Bueno, me refiero a esos objetos ya traen el Organization Leads como público.
Es que sí, o sea, por default te vienen de alguna manera. No estoy segura si esta es la manera o ya los he movido, pero por default, o ustedes le asignan a cada objeto el acceso que puede. Entonces, si alguien que no tiene ningún rol y no tiene ningún permiso, si puede ver el objeto, esto me va a definir qué información va a haber, qué registros. Que pues lo más restringido es que solamente vea los de él, y pues lo más abierto es que sea público y que pueda ver el de todos. No sé si es tu pregunta o... Sí,
es exactamente. O sea, si puede accesar a los objetos es porque ya estaba predefinido como público, ¿no? El objeto, y va a poder acceder a todos los récords de ese objeto. Pero sí, me refiero a los objetos que ya vienen por default de Salesforce, como accounts, opportunities, todos esos, ya entiendo, o había entendido, no sé si esté mal, que no pueden ser modificados, pero sí pueden ser clonados.
El mismo objeto, dices tú.
Así es, los objetos que ya trae Salesforce, en una clase anterior entendí que no pueden ser modificados, pero sí pueden ser clonados. A partir de ellos generar otros objetos, otros custom objects que nos funcionan un poquito diferente. Sí. Entonces, si por default estos objetos de Salesforce ya vienen como públicos, la primera pregunta es esa, si ya vienen como públicos. Y la segunda pregunta es, si yo, en caso de que vienen públicos y yo quiero no sé si está bien, pero si yo quiero que alguna persona que entre no los pueda ver, entonces lo que tendría que hacer desde el inicio es clonar ese objeto, a hacerlo custom object, los objetos que ya trae Salesforce por default, y entonces modificarle esa parte del organization lead, ¿no?
Ok, ya entendí tu pregunta y creo que estás confundiendo un poquito. Acuérdate lo que vimos antes. Esto es el acceso a los registros, pero un paso antes está el acceso a los objetos. Entonces, si yo no quiero que, como dices, una persona nueva vea el objeto lead, el objeto account, el objeto que sea, si yo no quiero que lo vean, yo le voy a asignar un perfil que no tenga ese acceso. ¿Me explico? Entonces, si de primera instancia yo quiero que esta persona no vea, yo me voy a ir aquí al perfil que le voy a asignar y le voy a decir, yo no quiero que tú veas, yo te voy a quitar el acceso a todas las cuentas, te voy a quitar, te voy a dar para aquí se da el acceso al objeto en sí. Y esto que estamos hablando de la Organization Wide Defaults es, si ya tengo acceso a un objeto, ¿qué registros voy a ver? Los míos, los de todos, los de la gente abajo de mí. Me explico. Es muy diferente puedo ver el objeto a qué información veo en los objetos a los que yo tengo acceso, a los que mi perfil tiene acceso, qué información voy a ver.
Ok, pero si por ejemplo, hago esto que comentaba Johanna, que omito darle o asignarle un perfil a algún usuario. Como yo entendí que el usuario iba, si yo omito eso de no asignarle un perfil, va a poder ver los objetos que son públicos por default, ¿no?
Va a poder ver los registros de los objetos que él tiene acceso y que son públicos. No sé si me explico. O sea, si yo creo un nuevo usuario, vamos a decir que este usuario, yo le tengo el perfil que le permite ver mis cuentas y contactos. Vamos a poner un ejemplo. Y no le permite ver oportunidades. ¿Ok? Tengo acceso, bueno, lo voy a poner muy fácil. Tengo acceso a cuentas y no tengo acceso a contactos. Vamos a ponerlo así. Si yo le creo, esto está definido dentro del perfil, ¿no? Esta persona no sabe que existen los contactos, pero sí tiene acceso a sus cuentas. Y no le creo ningún rol, él va a poder ver sus contactos, suponiendo que sea privada, o si es pública, va a poder ver los de todos. Pero como no tiene acceso a cuenta, ni siquiera importa aquí que Organization Wide Defaults tenga esta cuenta, porque a esta persona no le afecta. No sé si me explico. O sea, como no tiene acceso ni al objeto, no va a poder ver ningún registro. En caso de que sí tenga acceso a este objeto, ¿qué acceso va a tener a los registros? Y es lo que sale acá. No sé si ya lo estoy entendiendo un poco. Es muy sencillo si lo vemos acá.
O sea, un comentario.
Sí.
Creo que lo que él se refiere es que por error, por omisión, al agregar a un usuario, se puedan compartir información que no quieres compartir, ¿no? Con ese usuario. Creo que por ahí va la pregunta, Manuel, no sé.
Sí, o sea, sí. Cuando yo doy de alta al usuario, yo le voy a asignar un perfil. Pero en caso de que no se lo asigne, ¿a qué va a tener acceso, ¿no?
Sí, un perfil siempre se tiene que asignar.
Okay.
El que no es obligatorio es el rol, porque puede que no exista jerarquía de roles porque mi organización es pública, entonces ese no es necesariamente obligatorio, perdón, pero el perfil sí.
Ok.
Que es donde como dices, entonces ahí no va a haber un caso en de que se me olvide restringirle o abrirle acceso.
Ok, excelente. Sí, muchas gracias.
De nada.
Hey, Isabel, just real quick, doing a time check. If you need to take a break, or I don't know how much more time you have. I know you've been talking a lot, so I'll leave it up to you, though.
Okay, so I don't know if there are more questions about this, but we just have the last level, and this one is really simple. So it depends on everyone if they have more questions, but I'm fine. Just what everyone prefers.
Okay, if you're close to finishing, I won't stop the momentum, but I just want to make sure if you need to drink some water or take a break, you have
Thank
that
you.
option.
Have my water. I will do it. So I just want to make sure that this is clear. And before we move on to the next one, or I can move on to the next one, and then you can just ask me all the questions in general. Since everything is pretty much related, we can look at all the questions at the end. So as you prefer. So now we will go on to the next level, which is the last level, the field. Now that I have access to the organization and I was able to see any object, and what records can I see on this object? What fields am I going to be able to see? This is another restriction. As the example that I was saying before, let's say I have my object employees, and I have a field which is salary, which is sensitive since not everyone can see this field, maybe just the HR director or one person. This is, we can restrict access to certain fields, even if the user has access to the object. So this is the same example. For example, you can make the salary field in a position object invisible to interviewers, but visible to hiring managers and recruiters. So this is also super easy. This is defined at the moment when you create a field. And I will go here to fields and relationships. And either where you create or when you edit. So I will just create one so we can see one real quick. And here is the important part. We have all the profiles and we can define.
Oye, perdón que te interrumpa. A ver, es que hay algo que no me queda claro.
Sí.
Los objetos tienen sus campos, ¿no? Y esos campos tienen registros.
Ajá.
Correcto.
Bueno,
¿Por qué? Es que no me queda claro por qué récord. Yo tenía entendido, o sea, en mi mente, que el récord depende del campo, porque, o sea, si tu campo se llama salario, el récord va a ser, no sé, $10,000, ¿no?
Sí. Es
Pero,
que te voy a
¿cómo es
interrumpir.
que? Perdón, sí.
Estos son mis registros, estos son los records, cada uno de estos. Entonces, cada registro va a tener todos estos campos. O sea, el record no es este valor individual, sino es todo esta. Esta oportunidad es mi registro.
O sea, los registros son
la información, pues.
La información de los objetos.
O sea, si yo hablo de oportunidad, mis records son mis opportunities. Si yo hablo de accounts, cada record aquí va a ser cada cuenta. ¿Me explico?
Sí, sí.
Entonces, yo le puedo esconder ciertos campos. A una persona va a ver así y otra persona no va a ver estos campos. Haz de cuenta. ¿Me explico?
Sí, todo. Ya.
Muy bien. Okay. So we can give access to either read, you can only see the field, read only, or you can see it and edit it. So if I want this person to see this field, but I don't want them to edit it, I will just select this checkbox here. And if I don't want this profile to see it, then I just uncheck this. And if I just want everyone to see it, I will just do this real quick. Or restrict access and just give it to one profile. So now with that, the question that you guys just had, I want to clear it up here in Salesforce so you can see it a little bit more, not in the setup, but in the application. So this is the object opportunities. As you can see, these are the objects that I can see, which means that I have the permissions in my profile, or I have a permission set that allows me to observe this object. And now all these records that I can see here, these are the ones that I can see. So it either means that the organization is public and I can see everyone's records, or that it's private and these are all my records, or that it's private and I have a role hierarchy which allows me to see the records from the people below me. And so here you can see the owner. Since these are all mine, I am just seeing my records, which could probably mean that Opportunities behaves privately. And now within each record, what fields can I see? All these fields are the ones that I have visible to me as given when the fields were created. Sí.
Ay, perdóname, es que si vamos por el orden que estamos viendo aquí en el dibujo, entonces estos campos ya están definidos en el profile o por usuario.
Los campos se crean en cada objeto.
Pero el permiso de verlo, ¿se hace por usuario o se hace por profile?
Perdón, por profile.
Ok, y sigamos que yo digo, chale, esta persona está en este profile, pero yo requiero que ella vea ese campo, porque por lo de la set, ¿cómo se llama? Lo que vimos, ¿no? Permission sets.
Permission sets.
Ajá, permission sets. Entonces, yo digo, esta persona necesita ver ese campo, pero está en un profile diferente, ya tiene su permiso, pero no puede, ¿cómo hago para que ella lo vea, verdad?
Sí, esos son los permission sets que te digo que le dan como acceso adicional sin la necesidad de crearme otro perfil.
Entonces, perdón, en ese permiso ya viene incluido, digamos, el poder ver el récord en ese campo.
Mira, el permission set no habla de registros, tanto. Todo lo de los registros se maneja de esta manera.
Pero cuando tú le creas un permission set, ya le estás dando permiso a ver ese récord, ¿no? O sea, ya estás dando permiso a ver algo. Y lo que se me viene a la mente es que al ya darle permiso al ver eso, entonces ya va a poder ver los campos y va a poder ver los récords, ¿correcto? ¿O estoy mal?
No estás mal, pero haz de cuenta que cada de estos niveles como que te va abriendo, ¿no? Si yo ya puedo ver este objeto, ya sea por mi perfil o como dices, permission set, depende de lo que está configurado acá, a ver qué registros yo voy a poder ver dentro de este objeto al que tengo acceso. No sé si me expliqué.
Rayos, tendría que ver un ejemplo.
No, creo que sí, hace rato lo había explicado. Yo puedo dar el permission set, pero solamente mostrar los récords de ciertas personas. Eso se configura, ¿no? O sea, mostrar ciertos récords, nomás lo que les interese, eso puede ser.
Exacto. O sea, yo puedo tener acceso a ciertos objetos y eso es un nivel. Les digo que está muy complicado. O sea, me costó mucho entenderlo, entonces no espero que lo entiendan ahorita, pero quiero hacérselos lo más claro posible. Está primero el nivel objeto, por eso sale como aquí más grande, ¿no? ¿Qué objetos yo voy a poder ver? Pero por más que yo pueda ver un objeto, depende mucho de lo que se esté configurado en el Organization by Default, qué registros voy a ver dentro de cada objeto. Me explico. No porque yo tenga acceso a oportunidades aquí o en un permission set, quiere decir que pueda ver todo. Aquí entra el segundo nivel. Esto me restringe un poco más. ¿Qué registros voy a ver? ¿Los míos? ¿Los de todos? ¿Los de la gente abajo de mí? ¿O en el sharing rule y me comparten los de todas las personas que tienen este rol? ¿Me explico?
Sí, justo a eso va mi pregunta, ¿no?
Ajá.
Que, por ejemplo, que Manuel tiene un perfil y yo tengo otro perfil, pero ambos estamos en el mismo nivel, ¿no? Y yo quiero que Manuel vea ciertos campos y yo no vea ciertos campos, ¿no? O sea, yo no quiero, aunque tengamos ¿cómo se dice? Pues el mismo objeto, que ya tiene sus récords y así, ¿no? Pero entonces, luego resulta que Manuel empieza a aprender más y lo dice, ¿sabes qué, Manuel? Quiero que vea este. ¿Cómo hago para que eso suceda? Porque ya se le restringió antes, ¿no?
Ok, ya te entendí. Bueno, creo que te entendí. Hablas ya de cómo restringir campos a gente que tiene el mismo perfil, más o menos.
Ándale.
Okay.
O restringir o dar acceso, ¿no? Porque
Sí.
en algún inicio se le puede restringir, pero luego dices, bueno, vamos a darle acceso, ¿no? Por ciertas razones de la compañía, ¿no?
Sí, mira, si se tienen, ya que tienen que ver campos diferentes, se pueden crear 2 perfiles diferentes, porque, vaya, no se trata de tener solamente 3 perfiles, y que ahí me trate de agrupar todos, sino se trata de tener de las características, similares de lo que pueden ver la gente. Entonces, ya teniendo tus 2 perfiles de la persona que puede ver esto y la que no, ahí ya lo defines al nivel del campo, que es lo que vimos ahorita. Cuando tú creas el campo o cuando editas un campo, puedes seleccionar qué perfil lo ve y si solamente lo pueden ver o lo pueden editar también.
Ok, sí, creo que me queda más claro. Porque esta semana hicimos unas prácticas así y como que todavía me quedaba la duda y dije, tengo que volverlas a hacer porque no entendí muy bien el propósito, pero ya con esta clase ya me queda claro, ¿no?
Qué bueno, sí, porque digo que esto es mucho, es la base de este examen. O sea, esto lo tienen que tener súper claro y por eso les recuerdo que esta foto les va a ayudar mucho a organizar las ideas. Y por si se pierden, aquí saben que aquí es en el perfil, esto es otra cosa y esto es el nivel de campo para que organicen un poquito cómo funciona. Pero si alguien más tiene una pregunta, sé que a lo mejor me fui un poco rápido y puede que los haya confundido, pero espero que hayan entendido un poquito de cómo funciona en general. ¿Ok? Si no hay más dudas. Okay. So no more questions, I think. I don't know if anyone else wants to say something. I will.
We're good.
Creo que Vanessa quiere compartir una imagen.
Okay. I will stop sharing.
Yeah, Isabel, I was wondering if there's a way to just share an image. Maybe that would be helpful in understanding the record access, like how you open up the record access.
Of course.
I didn't know how to set it, or do I have to screen share?
No.
Maybe you can walk them through that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That would be helpful.
I think I misunderstood the question. You want me to share this or?
Oh, no. I have an image, like a diagram that might be helpful and for them to understand the record access.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if can I send it through the chat box or do you want me to screen share?
Oh, you can screen share.
Maybe you can walk them through them. Okay, I'll share it and you can maybe explain it. Okay.
Okay.
Let me see. Vamos a ver. Aquí. Are we here? Can you see it? ¿Pueden ver la pantalla?
Sí.
¿Sí? Okay, I don't know if this is helpful. Tal vez puedes explicar esto y tal vez puede ayudar a like visualize para que puedan ver qué es lo que estás hablando.
Yes. So I will, this is an image. I think you also got it from a webinar. I've seen it before. Yes.
Certification days, yep.
Yes, they're really useful. And they give this kind of diagrams like the one I shared in this one. So what we can see here, it's like you start opening up access. As you can see, this is like the most limited, and with each of these things, you start opening up access. So what it means is the first thing that we saw, the organization-wide defaults, is what you define for each object, right? So let's say I restrict my leads or my contacts, opportunities to be private. So now, do I want to open up access to this vertically with the role hierarchy? So this is what we talked about. We can give access to the people below me in the hierarchy. So this way we're opening up more access than the one we restricted here. Now, do I want to open up more? Do I want to share with the people who are in the same level with me? Do I want to share with other roles? So now we go to the sharing rules, which is what we saw, criteria-based or record owner-based. And now, do we want to open up a little more access flexible? I did not get into this topic, but we have teams and manual sharing. So you can create, there's something standard in Salesforce called account teams. And so you can have certain people belong to a team, and you can all work on the accounts. So the people on the team will be sharing access to the accounts that they are working on. So I think this is really helpful to see how it starts opening up access. And so this is how you start. And if you start with public read-write, well, then you don't need any of this because everyone can already see everyone's information. So thank you, Vanessa, for that. I don't know if you want to add anything to any more explanation.
Oh, no, you're doing a wonderful job explaining. So I'll leave it to you. I just thought, I know there was a lot of questions about record access, and it is confusing. So, you know, for me, it's always helpful to see it. Maybe that would be helpful, and I can share it in the WhatsApp group too, if it helps, or if, you know, if you have something similar as well, you know, I'm sure it would be helpful. Thank you.
No, thank you.
How do I stop this? Vamos a ver, stop sharing, right? Okay, gracias.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And also, just remember, what Vanessa just showed was access to records. And so just keep in mind that access to the object is very different to the access to the record. So if you don't have access to the object, then you won't be able to, it doesn't matter what it's configured since you cannot see that object. So just to keep that in mind. I don't know if someone wants to add anything else.
Yeah, the one thing I'd say is I think it was Tony shared a nice YouTube video that is another way of learning this. I will say that for me, this was a little difficult at first. Once you get it and you start just getting into the Salesforce environment and playing around, then it becomes easier. That's why I think for us, it's easy to talk about it. But when I first did it, it was like, what is this? Why do I need to do this? But it's the easy way to think about it is roles define what data you can see, what records. Profiles define what functionality and what features in Salesforce are enabled for you. Now that's a very high level, simple way of doing it, but whether it's Vanessa's diagram or Isabel's kind of presentation, there's a lot of different things out there and people absorb it differently. Mm-hmm. So it's just important to make sure you find something that connects with you, because when you're in a company or even a nonprofit, sometimes you don't want to have everybody see everything. If you're at a global company like Dell, if I am selling in the United States, or maybe I'm selling in Mexico, I don't need to see other accounts in Europe and Belgium. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And so it also helps the end users kind of just focus on the data and the functionality they need. So, and on the exam, there's, I think it's, I don't know, 11, 12, 15% of the exam is really focused on questions that are related to this. So this is so important to understand. And that's why we have the coach. That's why we have this class. So if some of this isn't quite clicking, go through the trails, ask your coach some questions, because a lot of things are going to build off of this in the classroom as we continue to do other trails. So this isn't one that you can kind of skip and then, you know, maybe catch up later, because it'll affect you if you don't get it right now. What are the questions on security?
Sí, perdón. No sé si Héctor nos podría compartir lo que mencionó al inicio, ¿no? De cómo relaciona los roles y eso en la pantalla, pero lo que quiero preguntar es, ya digamos que todo está bien, ya configuré todo, pero luego alguien borra, porque, por ejemplo, yo trabajo por una compañía en donde la información es importantísima, ¿no? Uh-huh. Entonces, ha pasado que alguien borra registros de las bases de datos. Uh-huh. Entonces nosotros tenemos un respaldo, ¿no? Entonces, sí. ¿Cómo funciona aquí si alguien accidentalmente borra algo que no debería haber borrado?
Sí, mira, si hay un recycle bin que se va a todos los registros que se borran, pero por eso también es muy importante no dar ese acceso, no dar ese permiso de delete records en el perfil a la gente que no debería estar borrando.
Es que, por ejemplo, a nosotros nos sucedió que nosotros estamos certificados en un ISO 27000, ¿no? Que es la seguridad de los datos, pero el punto es que a nosotros nos sucedió que las personas que deben de tener acceso a esos datos que pueden borrar y todo, accidentalmente borraron los récords. Entonces, tú dices, pues el que fuera con fuego es el que tiene más probabilidades de quemarse, ¿no? Entonces, los borraron y gracias a Dios, te digo, teníamos estos backups, pero ¿cómo funciona en Salesforce si tú le diste de permiso a la persona y la persona sin querer lo hizo, ¿no?
Pues te digo que se tiene como este respaldo donde se va lo que se borró. La única manera que se me ocurre que en Salesforce borrarían así masivamente sería con el data loader que vimos al principio, que sin querer, o sea, a lo que voy no es tan fácil sin querer borrar 1000 archivos, no es así como...
Ok.
O sea, es o borras un registro individual o haces un delete masivo con data loader. Y no es así como que se te fue sin querer, pero bueno, se tiene, sino como quiera, ese respaldo del recycling bin, que ahí se van, lo que se va borrando, se quedan creo que unos 15 días, o no recuerdo el rango de días que se queda.
Ok.
Está ese respaldo, pero pues bueno, también por eso está importante el acceso y pues nada más, obviamente la gente que tenga acceso, tener cuidado con lo que borra, pero no creo que sea así como un error y que sin querer se borró toda la información.
Bueno, es que esta persona le dio delete from tal tabla, pero no le puso el where, ¿no? Y pum, tronó todo. Pero, o sea, por eso preguntaba, pero entonces un respaldo como de 15 días. Entonces,
sí, son 15, me siento que sí, eran 15 o 20, pero ahí se quedan en el, es como el trash, ¿no? Entonces.
Son 15.
Son 15.
Y algo importante, Joana, es que acuérdate que no vas a tener acceso directo a la base de datos. Aquí no vas a poder hacer SQL a la base de datos. Todo es a través de objetos. Entonces, por eso es mucho más complejo que pueda alguien borrar.
Más seguro, ¿no?
Sí, sí.
Ok, perfecto.
Me gustaría escuchar a Celeste, Aranza, David, Wendy. Están muy callados. ¿Alguna pregunta, chicos? Any question?
Por ahora no.
There's a lot of good questions already asked today, which is really good. I see the questions being a lot more interactive every week, so that's good. Isabel, I think we're done with your session. Anything else on your side?
No, I just want to thank you all for your participation. And as Hector said, this will just start to come naturally once you start working more in Salesforce. Maybe right now you start to confuse the terms, but as you continue to work, you're going to start to get the hang of it. And anything and any questions, I'm always available and happy to help. And thank you for your time. I hope you liked the session.
Yes. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Isabel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tony.
So next week we have new guest speakers and a new session. Ismael is assigning the homework right now in the Google Classroom.
Yes.
Everybody should have access to it. Just remember the WhatsApp group is here as well. We've had coaches dial in every call who didn't have to, so they're here for you. You are not an imposter. You belong here. So remember that. There's a community here rooting for you, and we're in your corner. So with that being said, unless there's any other questions, I don't have anything else on the agenda. All right. Go do your Trailhead homework. Enjoy your weekend. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Isabel.
Thank you. I will send you the document that I shared and also another Word document with the instructions.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Bye.
Gracias, Isabel.
Bye.